Welcome back to Behind the Door. Before we dive into this story, comment below and tell us which city you're watching from. And once the story ends, don't forget to rate it from 0 to 10. Enjoy this amazing tale. Let's get started. The rain poured relentlessly on the streets of Manhattan as James Harrison stepped out of his limousine. His tailored suit, worth more than most people's monthly salary, remained protected under his assistant's umbrella. At 45, James had built an empire in real estate, his name synonymous with luxury and success. But on this particular evening, something would shake the very foundation of his carefully constructed world. As he walked toward the entrance of the Grand Plaza Hotel for a charity gala, his eyes caught sight of a woman huddled against the wall near the corner. She sat on a piece of cardboard. Two small children pressed against her sides, their thin clothes soaked from the rain. The woman held a trembling hand out to passers-by, most of whom walked past, without a second glance. James had seen countless homeless people in the city. He donated to shelters, attended charity events, wrote checks that helped thousands. But he rarely stopped to look directly at them. Tonight was different. Something about the way the woman held her children, protecting them from the rain with her own body, made him pause. Then she looked up. Time seemed to freeze. James felt his heart stop beating for a moment. Those eyes, that face, though weathered and tired, was unmistakable. Sarah Mitchell, the woman he had loved 20 years ago. The woman he had planned to marry. The woman who had disappeared without a trace, leaving him devastated and confused. His assistant noticed him staring and gently touched his arm, reminding him about the gala. But James couldn't move. His mind raced back to their college days, to stolen kisses in the library, to promises made under starlit skies, to the engagement ring he had saved months to buy. And then to that terrible day when she simply vanished, her apartment empty, her phone disconnected, her family claiming they didn't know where she had gone. He had searched for her for months. He hired investigators, called hospitals, filed missing person reports. Eventually he had to accept that she didn't want to be found. The pain had nearly destroyed him, but he channeled it into his work, building his empire as a way to fill the void she left behind. And now, here she was, homeless, with two children who looked to be around 8 and 6 years old. James dismissed his assistant and slowly approached. Sarah didn't recognize him at first. She looked down, ashamed, her hand still extended mechanically. When he knelt down beside her, ignoring the puddles soaking through his expensive trousers, she finally looked at him properly. Recognition flooded her face, followed immediately by horror and shame. She tried to turn away, to hide her face, but James gently took her hand. Tears streamed down her weathered cheeks, mixing with the rain. What happened next shocked everyone on that busy street corner. Instead of walking away, instead of throwing money at her and leaving, James did something no one expected. He took off his coat and wrapped it around Sarah's shoulders. He then picked up the younger child, a little girl shivering uncontrollably, and held her close to warm her. His assistant rushed over with the umbrella, confused but following his lead. People stopped and stared. Some pulled out their phones, recording the moment. Here was James Harrison, one of the wealthiest men in the city, kneeling in the rain with a homeless woman and her children. The scene was surreal. Sarah could barely speak through her sobs. James didn't ask questions, not yet. He simply said 5 words that would change everything. Let me help you, please. Within an hour, Sarah and her children were in a warm hotel room. James had arranged for room service, new clothes, and a doctor to check on them. He sat in the adjoining suite, giving them space, his mind spinning with questions. But he waited. They needed rest, warmth, and food first. The answers could come later. The next morning, Sarah finally told him her story. 20 years ago, she had discovered she was pregnant, not with James's child, but from a previous relationship she had hidden from him. The father was violent, dangerous, and had just been released from prison. He had found her and threatened both her and James. He promised that if she didn't disappear, he would destroy James's life and future. Young and terrified, Sarah made the hardest decision of her life. She left everything behind to protect the man she loved. She moved from city to city, working odd jobs, always looking over her shoulder. She had her son Daniel and tried to build a life. Years later, she met another man, had her daughter Emma. But that relationship also turned abusive. She escaped with both children but had nowhere to go. Her pride kept her from reaching out to anyone from her past. She worked multiple jobs to support her children, but a series of unfortunate events led to job loss, eviction, and eventually the streets. She had been homeless for 3 months, doing everything she could to keep her children safe. James listened with tears in his eyes. The woman he had loved had sacrificed everything to protect him, had suffered alone for 2 decades, and had never stopped fighting for her children. His heart broke for all the years lost, but also swelled with admiration for her strength. What James did next left everyone who knew him absolutely shocked. He didn't just give Sarah money or find her an apartment. He did something far more profound. He set up a trust fund for both children, ensuring their education through college. He offered Sarah a position in his company's community outreach program, where her life experience would help others facing similar struggles. He personally ensured she received counseling and support to heal from her trauma. But most surprisingly, James bought a house, not a mansion, but a beautiful, comfortable family home in a safe neighborhood. He gave Sarah the deed with no strings attached. It was hers. Her children would have stability, safety, and a place to call home. The media got wind of the story. Some praised James for his compassion. Others cynically suggested it was a publicity stunt. But those who knew James understood the truth. This wasn't about headlines or reputation. This was about a man who had never stopped loving a woman, who understood that sometimes love means giving someone the tools to rebuild their life, even if it doesn't include you. 6 months later, Sarah stood in her kitchen, watching Daniel and Emma laugh as they did homework at the dining table. She had gained weight, her face had color again, and her eyes sparkled with life. She worked 4 days a week, loved her job, and was slowly healing from decades of trauma. James visited occasionally, always respectful of boundaries. They had long conversations, rebuilding a friendship built on honesty and mutual respect. There was no romance, no fairy tale ending in that sense. But there was something perhaps more valuable: redemption, forgiveness, and the knowledge that even in our darkest moments, hope can find us. Sarah often thought about that rainy night, about the moment James knelt beside her in the puddles. She had hit absolute rock bottom, had nothing left to give, and in that moment of complete despair, life had given her a second chance. James, too, reflected on that night. He realized that all his wealth and success meant nothing compared to the simple act of seeing someone, truly seeing them, and choosing to help. Sarah hadn't just been a homeless woman on a street corner. She was a human being with a story, with dignity, with worth. The true shock wasn't that a millionaire helped a beggar. The shock was that he saw past the surface, remembered love, chose compassion over judgment, and understood that sometimes the greatest wealth we can possess is the ability to lift someone else up. So, what did you think of this incredible story? Rate it from 0 to 10 in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Behind the Door, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our heartwarming stories. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that hope is never lost. Until next time, remember that behind every door, there's a story waiting to be told.